Today is all about focus on the Black Swan Yoga podcast. We are diving into the world of meditation, enlightenment, higher consciousness, what that means from a yoga perspective, and we are going to dive deep into the final 3 limbs of the 8 limbs of yoga. Thanks for being here. Madeline and Christine here, ready to maybe rock your world. Maybe not. We'll see. The 3 limbs today really go together very well, talking about achieving or practicing meditation. And they have so many amazing benefits on your day-to-day lifestyle if you're able to practice them. So we're stoked to get into them.
Beautiful. So we kind of recap. We talked about kind of these moral and ethical practices of the yamas and niyamas. And then we delved into asana and pranayama, which are the physical practice and the breathing. And from here, and then we tapped into pratyahara, which was the idea of sense withdrawal. We encouraged you guys to do a little bit of restorative yoga. Hopefully you found some benefit from that. And today we're exploring the final 3. So the first one is Dharana, which means the ability to find concentration.
The challenge. This is kind of like,
it's not really,
so the 6th limb right now, Dharana, is like if you ever run a marathon or a race or like, I don't know, given birth or something like that, it's like the end. It's like the top of the mountain. It's like if you're fasting for the day, it's like the last little bit until you get to eat. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some analogies.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Yeah.
But it's really the most challenging or the most time encompassing aspect of meditation. Dharana is practicing focus. Mm-hmm. Meditation can be practiced in so many different ways, but from the yoga historical philosophical perspective, meditation is really uniting in the present moment with everything, with oneness, with God, with the universe, with yourself, your own soul. And to get to that space, the first step of meditation is to practice focusing. And I say all these crazy analogies because it can take a lifetime. It can take so long that one never really achieves it. Mm-hmm. The ability to direct and focus your mind on one thing and experience that unity. The first step of meditation, the 6th limb, is the most time-consuming or takes the longest amount of time to, quote, achieve.
Yeah, I like that explanation of like running a race and getting to the top of the peak. It is your body and mind have now been prepared through asana and pranayama and pratyahara. You've already withdrawn from the external senses, and now it's at this point where you're trying to hone in and expand your ability, your like concentration bubble. So you're staying withdrawn from the senses, and then you're being more and more absorbed into whatever focus point you have. And the thing that's fascinating is in the world of asana, if we hop back a few limbs, there's a huge aspect in asana which is called drishti, which is having this one-pointed focus. When you're in a specific pose, you have a specific gazing point. So if you're in Warrior 2, you might be looking over your front middle finger, and you're supposed to absorb all of your energy into that point. And so each limb is preparing us for the later limbs. And so in asana, that ability to have that one-pointed focus, to obviously balance, but also begin to train your mind, is kind of spilling over into this world of dharana, which is asking a little bit more of our attention.
The top of the mountain. Yeah. And just like you said, if you have practiced the 5 limbs prior to dharana, achieving meditation or the ability to focus in the moment comes more naturally and with greater ease, with peace and softness. The 5th limb, pratyahara, is a great fluid transition into the 6th limb, because the 6th limb is focusing, practicing focus, trying to focus. And when we talk about focus in general, we're talking about focusing on one thing. And that thing can be complicated. It can be vibrant. It can be very detailed. But as long as it's still one thing, that's the whole idea here. And it's neat because the 5th limb, pratyahara, is this act of being able to close out the five senses.
Mhm.
And if you kind of think about the way you think and live and do humanity every day, the five senses are a really nice parallel or analogy to all of the things that we're juggling in our minds every single day. Maybe it's more than five, maybe it's less. But I mean, even on your commute to work, you have to know where you're going. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You're probably thinking about the day ahead and what's coming up next. You could be thinking about your own personal needs, like your nutrition, your hydration, your relationship. You could be thinking about so many things that are positive or negative. And we're truly in this constant juggling act as humans, juggling so many things. So this act of pratyahara is finding peace in the moment, and essentially is the gateway to being able to focus where life is still happening and whizzing by, and things are crazy and fast and amazing and joyous and saddening and maddening and all the things that are involved in humanity. But we're still able to stay focused on our paths and stay focused on our intentions as humans, whatever that is, and kind of direct ourselves. We've been talking a lot in our own world about this analogy of having horse blinders on or staying in your lane. And we're just thinking about how it's so easy to say, okay, as an example, I have a job and I know my job in the world, but I also have a hobby. And I'm thinking about, okay, maybe I want to spread my energy between the job I have now and this hobby I love. And then on top of that, you're thinking, okay, I also want to pursue a relationship. So I'm going to spread my energy over to the relationship. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, now I also want to help myself and develop my health and my wellness and my fitness. So I'm going to spread some energy over there. So it's kind of spread all over. But anyways, this idea about staying in your lane and having focus is really, I think, the key to achieving and finding bliss and peace and success. You know, success is measured in so many different ways, but whatever your goals are, be it tangible or not, staying in your lane, quote unquote, is what we've been kind of exploring. And when you're in your lane, you have essentially like the Autobahn or a highway. You can just go as fast as you possibly can when you're able to focus, when you don't have distractions, when you're not spreading your energy too thin, and you're able to laser beam on an intention, full steam ahead and go.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's beautiful. It's really about learning how to restrain your fluctuations of your mind and that monkey mind. It's like over here and over here and over here. And I think as we kind of move towards meditation, that is something that makes people a little bit nervous, or that they don't fully understand or comprehend of how to do it. And so that's why I love the 8 limbs, is because this progression of, okay, we're moving towards there. It's not just like, okay, just sit down and meditate. And
turn those thoughts off.
Yeah, it's just about slowly preparing your body. Yeah. And like what you were saying, like this may come in a lifetime. And so having that sense of like going back to that cornerstone of like ahimsa, nonviolence, like don't beat yourself up about if you can only be there for 30 seconds and then your mind travels somewhere else. It's okay. It probably will happen. And you just keep trying over and over again. Like if that's your goal and you just keep striving towards it, guaranteed you'll find a little bit more strength and resiliency to stick with it and to not let the mind escape. Or you'll just start noticing a little bit more quickly when the mind wanders. Because sometimes I know for me, I'll be in meditation, especially in the earlier days of my meditation practice. It would take me a moment. I would be meditating and then I'd wander, and then I'd just be like flowing this thought train. And then I would realize, oh, I totally wandered away. But now it's a lot quicker. If I'm in meditation and I notice, I'll just be like, oh, and then just come back. And so it's being like, that will help you grow in meditation, that ability to concentrate. Oh, I'm here, I'm concentrating. Oh, I lost the concentration. Okay, I'm going to come back to it, come back to my focus. And then it will just continue to happen, but that's okay.
Yeah. And just like anything in life, the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
So it's this fine balance of practicing and putting in effort, but also surrendering. When we
Yes.
talked about pratyahara, we talked about how you set yourself up for success. You live a life that makes sense to you, that's peaceful, that's loving, that's healthy. And once you've put in that effort, maybe for a while, things start to flow. Things start to feel easier and better and just more enjoyable. And then once you get into your flow state, and that's different for all of us, once you get into that natural flow state where you feel aligned and really present, then things start coming to you more easily. So like pratyahara as an example, the ability to be able to focus and, be in the present moment without aggravation or distraction or addiction or obsession with certain things that you don't have or whatever examples, pratyahara starts to come to you. So just like that, meditation can't essentially be forced. It can't be quote unquote achieved or mastered really. It's more the act of effort with surrender. Just doing your best every day. And maybe on a Monday, that looks a lot different than it does on a Saturday. And every day is a little bit different. Sometimes your mind wanders. Sometimes you are aware of it. Sometimes you're not. And just kind of doing that dance.
So it's this idea of like surrendering expectation. Like, it's okay. Like, not going in being like, I'm going to meditate, be totally present for 20 minutes. And then you don't. And then you're like, I had a crappy meditation.
And then you go back to violence towards yourself. You're like, I suck at meditation. I can't focus my mind. And then you're back to the video game level 1 of trying to achieve or practice ahimsa, the nonviolence. So it's all a great cycle. Cycle of life. But anyway, so this first limb is about practicing focus, trying it out, seeing how it feels, seeing where you're at, and truly stepping into the role of the observer. I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to realize as humans is that our thoughts aren't us. Our soul has the ability to observe and oversee, like it's an umbrella view or a top-down view where you can observe and realize, oh, my mind's wandering, or, oh, I'm speaking harshly to myself. I am being self-critical, or whatever our some scars are deeply rooted negative mental habits and manifestations that we spiral into sometimes. Becoming aware of those is super key. Realizing your soul, your infinite consciousness is an observer, is presence of just looking around, observing, taking things in without judgment and noticing. And then the monkey mind or the chatter or the stories we tell ourselves, that's just a part of your body. That's a part of your human form that is not infinite, that will die someday, that is animal in nature. And it's, one's not necessarily like greater or what have you. I think it's all part of everything. It's just a different energy. And if you're able to live in the space of the observer, you're going to be living in a space that's much more loving and patient and peaceful. And you're going to see your days feel like they become longer, like you have more space and time and just more fluid and lovely.
Yeah. And I think too, with this whole idea, a lot of times people think, oh, like the idea of approaching meditation is all about sitting and being in this Zen space. And, you can explore Dharana in many different ways that will, if you want to sit and meditate, that it will transfer over. For example, something that I really like to do is when I cut vegetables, that's what I'm doing. Just cut the vegetables. And so, I'm not thinking about work or what I need to do next. It's just trying to have this moment of being with what I'm doing and then noticing how that feels in my mind. And it is the monkey mind following the action and the focus of your eyes and your hands or whatever that act is that you're doing.
Give it direction.
Yeah.
Give it a job. Stay in your lane. Practice focus.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then when you do that, it's everything becomes so much more fulfilling and rich. Imagine a purple radish. I love those things. They're works of art. If you're slicing a radish and you're actually focusing on it, you can just enjoy so much. You can enjoy the fact that you have hands to slice, you have eyes to see. You're opening up this amazing work of art that is a vegetable that's going to nourish you, and it's so beautiful. It's like a kaleidoscope of just amazingness, and just being present is really what's, to me, in my experience, fulfilling. I feel like we're constantly inundated with information, social media, online, emailing, people we see, driving by, things we want, yada, yada, yada. And it's like those things aren't really fulfilling at the end of the day. But what is taking a deep breath, is remembering gratitude, what we have, what we can love. If we open our eyes with this view of love, we can see so much beauty around us, and just focusing on that. And, whatever your intention is, let's say you really want to focus on building more contentment in your life. If that's your intention for life, that could be your practice of Dharana, your practice of focus. I'm going to work on my contentment, and a personal self-reflection, that, the act of introspection and self-study, which is back in the beginning of the limbs, that constant self-reflection helps you realize where you need to go next, and it's constantly changing. Maybe one year you need to work on contentment. Maybe the next year you need to work on your tapas.
I was just going to say tapas. Yeah.
Nice,
get it going.
2 yin yang things.
Yeah, definitely.
So the next limb is Dhyana. And this is the state of achieving focus. So Dharana is, like we said, probably takes the longest practicing focus, trying to do it because it's damn hard. And then achieving it, being in this state of focus where you're meditating and you are connecting or focusing on anything. This 7th limb is the second step of meditation. It is achieving focus, the ability to stay present in the moment and direct yourself to whatever you're focusing on. And I think it's really neat. One of the teachers I've studied with who shared that the act of meditation can be done so many different ways. And the truth of it is we just want to get our minds to be quiet and focused so that we can have peace. But the truth of the matter is it doesn't really matter what you practice focusing on. It could be something good. It could be something bad. It could be something external, something internal. It could be words or mantra. It could be something physical. There's so many ways you can direct your mind. So from his perspective, he's like, the goal is to focus. What you're focusing on doesn't matter, but you might as well make it something nice, right? To direct your mind in that positive. And when I did one of my 200-hour trainings, my teachers all the students would be like, so I sit down to meditate and we have like 15, 30 minutes, it varies. And I have a mantra, like I'm going to repeat this phrase in my head. I am loved. And then the student's like, okay, a couple minutes in, I'm like, that was nice, but I want to change to something else. Like, I want to now go to, I am hungry. No, I'm just kidding. They want to go to, I am free. And then they go down that for a few minutes. And then they're like, okay, I want to change my mantra to something else. All those mantras are beautiful. I am loved. I am free. They're going to serve you. But if you're trying to practice the, traditional way of focusing, of directing your mind, of just practicing focus, let go of the monkey mind tendency to say, let's get a new mantra. Let's change. Let's try something else. Let's go down another lane. Instead, just stay in your lane, whatever it is, and just try to focus, because that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, and then you receive more benefit when you stick with it. And then you start really feeling it in your body. And it's not just in your mind. And that's when this powerful mind-body connection happens. And you're like, not only just repeating it, just repeat it, but then you start like feeling it and believing it. It's like you innately in the core of your being like, oh, I am loved. And then that impacts us when we finish meditation.
And in ways we're not conscious of, I think. The more, if you have a mantra is so powerful because it's like etched into your brain, into your heart. And then in ways that you maybe aren't aware, subconscious ways, it'll show up. How you communicate, how you dream, how you work, how you interact with people all around. It's really, you have to plant the seeds in your mind of love or whatever intention you have, and it truly will manifest in every single aspect of your life.
Yeah, and I love that idea of like planting those seeds, because the mind can become like this garden, but it needs to be taken care of. And yoga, it isn't just the asana. We talked about that before. It's not just the physical. The physical is a means to move, hopefully, into these states of meditation. And so we're not only planting, but we're also grooming the mind. We're like, oh, so any of those thoughts of violence of like, I hate myself, or I'm not good enough, the meditation and the mantra of I'm loved, I'm loved, I'm loved, in a sense is almost weeding those negative thoughts out and taking those beautiful seeds and hopefully growing something really powerful and uplifting and changing.
Then there's no room for How'd they
Ahimsa.
think?
Yeah.
Your brain is pretty small. It can't hold everything.
Yeah, right.
Might as well get that shit out of there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this seventh limb is achieving focus and connecting, right? And then the last limb is samadhi, which is which is translated a couple different ways. Some people say samadhi is enlightenment. Some say samadhi is meditation. Some say samadhi is oneness or connection, or usually like the goal of yoga to connect and to realize our interconnected oneness through human and animal and plant and universe and star and rock and man-made and earth-made and everything that exists, tangible and intangible energy.
And to me, I think that like it's so interesting listening to all these definitions. Totally. And then I'm like, but what is that? Like, it's bliss. Like that oneness, that enlightenment, that's the
what we want.
Yeah.
Happiness.
Yeah.
Just to feel good.
Just to feel good. Not
but
based
to get
on
there,
external.
Yeah, but to get there, we have to do hard things
Yeah.
like, prime our bodies for health. We have to practice asana. We have to breathe. We have to go through the dark, thorny garden in our minds to get to the flowers, That's cool. So this last limb, it's neat. They say that once you achieve this last limb, you will never forget it. It's like once you realize you're seeing color, you won't ever forget it. Or once you've tasted something like your favorite food or the most decadent food you have ever tasted, you won't forget. And it's going to be with you always. And they say if you've achieved enlightenment, that you won't ever forget that oneness. And you can have, I think, bouts of humanness or animalisticness. I just made up that word. Bouts of the animal brain coming forward where you have human emotions like rage or anger or lust or greed or all the myriad of things. But once you get back down into your conscious, grounded, peaceful state, the baseline, the foundation that you have for yourself is this idea that you're connected to everyone and that we're all the same, we're all equal, no one's better, no one's worse, even if the behavior of people dictate otherwise. And I think that's really neat because in our world today, we can practice yoga and we can experience the connected, loving effects of our efforts without having to think about a guru or some intangible type of lifestyle or personality, of thinking, I'll never achieve enlightenment. But truly, it's very, very simple. It's just realizing that what you do affects other people. What other people do affects you. How you think about yourself affects the universe, and that we're all in it together, really. I think it's kind of simple. I mean, it takes a long time to achieve and realize, but I think the concept of oneness is just that.
I think it's coming back to the core of who we are. I feel, and I think it's something that we don't actually achieve. I don't think we can achieve this union and the enlightenment. I feel like it is almost the same as pratyahara. It just comes, and it can be an experience that brings it to you. It can be the work that you've done, and then you have this moment. It could be, and it doesn't mean that you're just sitting alone and you experience it. It can be, but there's other ways that you might just taste it, and then those little tastes of it hopefully keep you hungry so that you keep doing the work to find that lasting peace and joy, that it's not this like, oh, everything in life outside of me is good and going well. I mean, that's great, but it's something that is within. And I was reading this in Light on Yoga, this book that we keep referencing, where when you witness a storm, a lightning strike, you see like the clouds and then the lightning strike down to the ground and it like lights up the sky. That's the same kind of experience that happens within. And it's like you are finding your own electric light within yourself, and that it's not like, oh, I'm stealing like from people's like light and love or whatever and taking away, but you're producing it within yourself. You're producing that energy from the 8 limbs, from the work, from the practice of being present with yourself and being mindful and like allowing yourself to feel it. And I really think it's having a moment of oneness and really becoming present in the moment and really seeing and feeling and using the senses that we have, withdrawing from them, but then at the same time, utilizing them not just for our own self-worth, but in basically to use them to lighten us up within and then cultivate that lightness to others. And so then people are like, oh, wait, why are they like that? Why do they feel so grounded? Or why do they seem so calm? Or why do they seem so peaceful all the time? And that can make people question and ask. And then there's just this kind of snowball effect of, oh, yeah, it's an uplifted collective. Like what you were saying, like we're all in it together. And so it's not just for the benefit of ourselves. It really has this, it wants to come alive in everyone. I think that's what it is.
It's like a magnet.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's cool. I think too, one of the definitions of intuition with it is, it's really if you're able to be present in the moment and you're really able to quiet your mind and direct it, focus. Like let's say you're having a conversation and you're fully present with the person listening to what they have to say, how their face is moving, how their body's moving, their energy in general. You develop this intuition or this greater sense of knowing. And in my experience, it's also trust. And, trust in nature of how humans are all so similar, and we think we're different and we think our problems are only ours and we're weird or, the black sheep or whatever we think, but we're all really so similar. And the challenges we have as humans and the desires we have, the innate human desires we have, are all really the same at the end of the day. I mean, there's variations, of course, of different paths people live out and jobs people have, but the general drive to survive and love and be loved and seen and to thrive and be blissful is within everybody. And going back to this idea of intuition, samadhi or enlightenment as intuition, it's really just, I think, being in the moment, being aware of your own tendencies of mind, of body, and then being in the moment with others and being able to recognize yourself in them and to be able to connect and realize, okay, I can see this person is suffering right now. So I'm going to offer them my support, my presence, my love. What would I need if I were suffering right now? How can I help them? And just developing your ability to connect more, using your intuition to serve others and to connect a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think that can be an experience of samadhi too. That it's, and that's the cool thing, because I feel like it can be experienced in a collective or, one-on-one with someone and just feeling it's not this like moment in time where like, whoa, everything's happening. It can be like that for some people, but it can be just those little tastes of like, oh, really feeling bonded. This past weekend, I was with another teacher and we just connected a lot. And we made up this term called beyonding. So it's bonding beyond. And it was just really powerful because we both really felt it. And we're like, wow, oh, that's what it is about. And that's the union of hey, let's, we're human. We're in this body, this flesh, seeking something more. And sometimes, we take different paths and we end up in different places. But the universe, life itself is still somehow trying to coax us back and bring us to those people who pull it out of us.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Ooh, beyonding.
Thank you.
Trending. Beyonding. I love it. Oh, that's so fun. Oh, man. Okay, so here's a more tangible way to experience samadhi. Let's say you are meditating. You're seated, the traditional concept of what meditation is. You sit down, you close your eyes, and you try to focus, quiet your mind, all that jazz. So let's say you are seated, and you're meditating on a candle.
Yes,
your eyes are open, you're looking at a flame flickering, and you are engulfed by it. So what it may feel like or experience, you'll know you've experienced this act of samadhi is only in retrospect once you've come out of it, because the act of the last three limbs is, the first one is to practice focusing. All right, I'm going to try. I'm still conscious of my mind. I'm still saying, all right, Maddie, try to focus. You can do this. And then the seventh limb, the second step is achieving that focus, where you have a few moments of realizing, I'm in it. I'm focused. I'm present. And then this last step of samadhi is forgetting that there's a you. And you get so engulfed in whatever you're focusing on, be it a flame or whatever you're meditating on, that you have this energetic connection where you're forgetting that you are separate, forgetting that you're a you. You know, you're not thinking, I am focusing. You aren't really thinking at all. You're just stepping into that observer role of, you know, there's a candle flickering in front of you and you're watching it without labeling it, without understanding or speaking in your head. You're just engulfed. And this act of samadhi is forgetting you're separate from the candle or whatever you're meditating on. Maybe it's someone across from you. You're doing an eye-to-eye meditation where you're forgetting that there's two and you're remembering that all is one and it's all connected. So they say that when you're in that state, whether it lasts a snap, a moment or longer, you don't realize it until you're after. You know, you come back to life or come back to reality and realize, wow, I was doing that, or oh my gosh, I was in it for a second. So yeah,
I love that.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's being completely absorbed in whatever you set your intention to.
Oneness.
And and I think when we get out of the way of the self, that's that oneness, that bliss of like, oh, it's not just the ego, the facade anymore. It's this enmeshment.
Chatterbox in your head. Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Enmeshment. Oh, I love it. But yeah, so that's what they talk about when they're saying, you know, yoga, the intention of yoga is to, you know, be one with the moment or be one with the universe, or namaste, the light in me honors the light in you. It's really that bowing or respect or acting of reminder of oneness and our connection across all beliefs, backgrounds, human, animal, plant, whatever it is, just the existence of energy and oneness and connection.
I just want to go meditate now.
Do you guys feel enlightened yet? Oh my gosh. And it's interesting too, I think when I was first taught these concepts, I was definitely accustomed to the idea that enlightenment was for people that were better than me. And that was a really good reflection for me to realize, oh, my internal negative narrative is thinking I'm not good enough, of thinking I'll never be enlightened, I'll never be able to do this, or, you know, I'm not good enough, other people are better than me. And even having that recognition, being able to observe that in myself, I think has helped me travel along this ladder of the 8 limbs to practice more truthfully and with love and connection and all that. So we invite you guys to practice with love and go back to these episodes many, many times. I think Christine and I are both yoga teacher trainers, and we have been able to live these practices in our lives, but also share these practices with our students, hopeful yoga teachers, many times on repeat again and again and again, and have more understanding of what they mean and think more critically about what is enlightenment, what is pratyahara, what is nonviolence and love, like what are these concepts, how can we bring it to life? So the more you can repeat, the more you can come back to all this, the more it will serve you, just like your yoga practice. If you practice every day or a regular rhythm of practice, the more benefits you will feel, the more you'll get to know yourself and your body and your mind. And it's just about staying in your lane and keep going and don't give up and stay on the journey and keep trusting and keep going and moving forward into your light.
And breathe.
And breathe. Thanks for listening, you guys.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back soon with some awesome episodes. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into philosophy with some lectures on chakras. Christine and our lovely co-teacher Patsy will be back for those lectures, and they are going to be amazing. Great information on how you can understand your mind, your psychology, what makes you tick every day, the good and the bad, and so that you can have a little bit more connection with yourself and make your way towards samadhi enlightenment. Namaste.
Namaste.